Hurricane Fiona hit Puerto Rico just over a week ago. Several 100,000 people on that island, American citizens, are still without power. Imagine a week without electricity. Fiona, a Category 1 storm, slammed through the American territory on September the 18th, causing widespread flooding and mudslides that led to a power outage of the island's old and fragile electrical grid, forcing many to rely on generators not only for internet and communication, but to keep their food from rotting. According to the Water and Sewer Authority, about 20% of customers also don't have running water still. Remember, these are American citizens we're talking about, citizens of the richest country in human history whose territory could not withstand a Category 1 hurricane. And it's a compounding issue. When a hurricane like Fiona hits a place like Puerto Rico, which still hasn't fully recovered from Hurricane Maria, the Category 5 storm that devastated that island in 2017, it further damages every aspect of life and of the local economy. According to a farmers' association in the eastern half of the country, 90% of the region's major crop, plantains, has been lost due to the wind and torrential rains. 90%. Gas stations, grocery stores, and other businesses had to shut down due to lack of fuel for generators. A researcher told NPR that experts will likely find that Fiona was a multi-billion-dollar economic disaster. One organization that's on the ground in Puerto Rico right now to try and help residents through the disaster is World Central Kitchen. Run by award-winning chef Jose Andres, it's been providing meals and helping businesses get back on their feet in areas affected by Hurricane Fiona. This is what Jose Andres and his organization do around the world. From Pakistan, which is still reeling from catastrophic flooding last month, to Ukraine, where World Food Kitchen has served more than 150 million meals since the start of the war there. It's why Chef Andres has been rightly nominated for a Nobel Prize. And he doesn't just step in during emergencies. This week he'll be joining Congressman Jim McGovern at the White House for its conference on hunger, nutrition and health. The first in 50 years, the conference will be held to address food insecurity and diet-related diseases, which affect millions of Americans. Joining me now to discuss all this, our award-winning chef and founder of World Central Kitchen, Jose Andres from Puerto Rico, and Democratic Congressman Jim McGovern from Massachusetts. He's the chair of the Congressional Hunger Center. Thank you both for joining me. Jose, let me start with you. You're on the ground in Puerto Rico right now. Give us a sense of what the situation is like for the millions of people living there. American citizens, hundreds of thousands are still without power, right?
Yeah, I am right now in the western part in a beautiful place called Cabo Rojo, and this is the municipality of Boquerón. It's one of the most beautiful places in the Caribbean. So I'm asking everybody, please, things will go back to normal. Don't cancel your vacation and your trip to Puerto Rico. The people of Puerto Rico, a way to help them is by you keep showing up. But the situation in Puerto Rico, where I am right now, more than 90% of the population here don't have any electricity. Other parts of the island is different. But still, yes, we are talking hundreds of thousands that still don't have any access, complicating things like water. Many people don't receive clean water because obviously the electricity doesn't allow the pumping of that water. And this is generating some of the main issues we are facing. That's why we have in a lot of our kitchens, generators is the only way to keep the kitchens fully functional.
And Congressman, what has Congress been doing to help Puerto Rico? This is a part of the U.S. that has historically been treated pretty badly by the federal government. It still hasn't fully recovered from Hurricane Maria in 2017, which was its own multi-billion-dollar disaster. What is Congress doing right now?
Well, first of all, we're going to have to provide some emergency relief to Puerto Rico, and I expect that will be forthcoming. But let's also be honest about the fact that residents of Puerto Rico experienced hunger at a much higher rate than other Americans even before the hurricane. And part of that is that we have an outdated structure for nutrition assistance in Puerto Rico. They don't have a SNAP program operated like the way we do in other states. What they have is a block grant system. And so we need to, and I hope we will address that as part of this White House conference. But there are a lot of things that we need to do. Look, hunger is a problem, not just on the island of Puerto Rico. We have a hunger problem in this country. Tens of millions of Americans don't know where the next meal is going to come from. The point of this conference is to come up with a plan so that we end hunger once and for all.
Jose, as such a prominent campaigner on food insecurity and hunger, you'll be at the White House on Wednesday with Congressman McGovern at this conference that Joe Biden is hosting. What do you want to hear from the president, and what are you going to be telling him?
Well, I think we need to be thanking this White House, President Biden, the work that Congressman Jim McGovern by making this conference happen. This is vital. What I should be telling President Biden, if I have the opportunity, or I want him to say, is this will be the last hunger conference in the history of America. Why? Because hopefully after that conference, the actions over the next weeks, month, and couple of years will make sure that no American, the richest country in the history of mankind, nobody, no children, will go to bed hungry. So I would love to see universal breakfast and lunch. Why not? I would love to see the SNAPs increase to make sure families can make it, but increase to be buying more fresh fruits and vegetables. Fresh fruits and vegetables that same federal money that helps those families in need feed themselves also is helping those small farmers that sometimes they have difficulty making it at the end of the month. Making sure we invest in infrastructure where every school will have a functional kitchen so we can train and hire men and women in those rural communities that they can be the chefs feeding the children those foods that those farmers around the community are producing. You see, I want to start seeing that we stop throwing money at the problem and we start investing in the solutions. Food should stop being the problem. Food needs to be the solution to keep moving America forward.
Congressman, Joe Biden has pledged to eliminate hunger in the U.S. by 2030. And while his administration did get the child tax credit payments through in 2021, which lifted millions of kids out of poverty, as you know, Republicans in Congress let that expire last December. Since then, inflation's gone up, food prices have gone up, people are lining outside food banks. The reality is that money is not the only solution, but it has to be part of the solution. And Congress is busy funding the Pentagon, not food.
Well, look, I think we need to view food as a fundamental human right for every single person, not only in this country, but on this planet. One of the reasons why this White House conference, I believe, is necessary and important is because to solve this problem is not just about one program or one agency or department. There's an intersectionality with a whole bunch of other issues. So people are hungry because they're paying too much for rents. People are hungry because they're not earning a decent wage. People are hungry because they live in food apartheids where they don't have access to the fresh fruits and vegetables that Jose talked about. So, this is about connecting the dots and about coming up with real solutions. Again, the Congress has a role to play. The administration has a role to play. State, local governments do. The private sector has a role to play. Nonprofits do. We all have to be in on this. This is a solvable problem. Yeah.
Just to be clear, Congressman, we can agree, you and I'm sure our viewers would agree, that we have our priorities out of whack in this country. The money we spend on the Defense Department versus something like food, which, as you rightly say, should be a universal human right. It's crazy, the disparity.
Well, I agree with you. And I would just say that we need a new definition of national security in this country. It ought to include that everybody has access to good, nutritious food. And that's what I hope will be the outcome of this conference.
Jose, one last question to you. You have a new podcast out called Longer Tables. It looks at all the way that food shapes our world and, as you put it, quote, makes us who we are. I wonder, how much is climate change a part of that story about food, or at least is becoming a part of that story? From droughts to natural disasters to waterways drying up. Your organization is serving people around the world. I'm sure it's something you're seeing.
Well, only in the last 2-3 weeks, we've been in Turks and Caicos, in Bermuda, Dominican Republic, here in this beautiful part of America, in the Caribbean, Puerto Rico. We have a team trying to get to Cuba. We see what's about to be happening, what happened in Nova Scotia, what happened in Alaska, what is about to be happening in Florida. We see a continuous increase in typhoons, in hurricanes, back-to-back category, Hurricane 4 and 5s. Obviously, climate change is real, it's here to stay. What organizations like World Central Kitchen, we do is just put a finger on the hole, but we take drastic measures to make sure that food can be also the problem in the way even we produce our food starts becoming what helps combat climate change, or we're going to be for a very rough awakening. Even the way we cook, almost 3 billion people that are cooking with fossil fuels because they are too poor to have any other source of energy. You see, the way we are feeding the planet must be also part of the solution. What Congressman said is right. We need a 360, three-dimensional approach. We cannot just make the Department of Agriculture and hunger on its own. Requires the whole government and then requires the whole planet, country by country. All we have to take better measures to make sure that we fight climate change. And in the process, why not? We feed every human in America and around the world.
Well said. We will have to leave it there. Jose Andres in Puerto Rico, Congressman Jim McGovern, thank you both. Appreciate it.